Well, after a brief hiatus for vacation, the Big D is back with a Coaches 2023 theme edition, the Big D podcast. Before I bring in Kyle, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. A lot of content, football, golf. So, with the Open coming up, I might be hitting a driver, 3-wood, or hitting the old driving iron. Also, check out the Big D podcast for audio listeners on Spotify and Apple. So, joining us today, full press Packers going for two. So many other different websites, podcasts that we would be here for an hour and a half. But Kyle Senra is back. So, Kyle. You ready? We're talking top 10 coaches. You were with me last when we did top 10 quarterbacks. So
yeah, I was just thinking about that too. Yes, that was fun. It was a good exercise, and so thank you. Appreciate very much for you inviting me back on for this topic.
yeah. So when you think of coaches, what do you think of a coach? Specifically, a top coach.
I mean, it's all about the results, right? You got to get your team to be able to win games, and there's so many of those key situations where coaching will matter. Sometimes it's with play calling, either on offense or defense. Sometimes it's decisions, going for it on fourth down or kicking. Sometimes it's simply the things we don't see, the preparation through the week to get players ready for those big moments. And then we're talking the elite of the elite. I think the championship ability to win a title, I think, has to come into question and come into play for sure. I think that definitely factors in, certainly at the top of my list, where, probably get through more than halfway down through the list before you get to a coach that hasn't won a Super Bowl. So that certainly impacted greatly, I think. Looked at other accolades. I went and I looked at the all-decade list for the last couple, since all of the coaches that are active now have been in, and like who got the Coach of the Year award. So who have got the people who cover the sport, who have they considered to be the best coaches at different times. So kind of tried to amalgamate that all together. I also took into account every coach's winning percentage through their career so far.
I look at key situations. Who's good on third down? Who's good in the red zone? Fourth down? Who's good coming in and out second half? And also look at what kind of coach you are, whether you're an offense mind coach or defense mind coach. Is your area of the team capable of handling itself? For instance, if you're the New England Patriots, you've got to have a good defense and special teams because Belichick's going to lean the defensive side of the ball. But if you're Andy Reid and the Chiefs, the offense will be good because they've got maybe the best offensive play call in the league. But it's so fascinating to me how it is. And also, we've seen in the last few years where aggressive coaches tend to matter more. And we remember Sean Payton going for an onside kick to start the second half of Super Bowl once. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry.
It seems like aggressive coaches matter more because we saw Sean Payton go for an onside kick to start second half of Super Bowl 44 against the Colts.
I think we've also seen like a phenomenon recently. I'm just thinking of coaches going for two when they're like to win a game at the end instead of kick an extra point to tie. We've seen that a few times. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But and I could think of a couple of coaches on my top 10 list that have done that.
Brian Dable.
Actually, I guess three coaches because I wasn't even thinking of him. But yes, the three coaches on my list. I guess I kind of spoiled a little bit there, but that have done that recently. The decision to let's go for a win instead of the chance at overtime.
Yeah, Doug Peterson went for two against the Ravens. I know Brian Dable went for two against the Titans week 1. Does it also help maybe I don't know if it matters quite as much today, but does experience in the NFL matter? Because we've seen so many young coaches come and make an impact, whether it be Brian Dable or who was the guy in Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell, or Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins make an impact as a rookie head coach. It seems like rookie head coaches, particularly offensive mind rookie head coaches, do pretty well.
I mean, not Nathaniel Hackett notwithstanding, who was a rookie offensive-minded head coach last year. That was a complete disaster.
That would be because he was the foremost in Green Bay, right?
Well, he just, not every, and I think he's, from his time in Jacksonville, like he got the best out of Blake Bortles that anyone possibly could have got. I think he's a pretty good offensive coordinator, but it's not always a good, even sometimes the best offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator might not make the best head coach. I think like Wade Phillips, exceptional defensive coordinator, below average as a head coach, probably. Like, probably not the worst, certainly not Nathaniel Hackett bad, because he at least seemed like he was prepared for the job. I wonder if, and the unfortunate thing with Hackett is he might not ever get another chance now. But if it had been like another, say, 5 or 10 years before he got his first head coaching gig, would that have given him enough time to learn more that would have been needed to do something like that? It just seemed like he was woefully unprepared for being a head coach and what it took. And so it just seems like some of these young guys that finally got their first chances last year were prepared. And I mean, for some of them, especially like Brian Dable, because I believe he was part of the coaching staff on the Patriots dynasty, like the first 3 championships. Like I think he was with the team in 2003 and 2004. So he had enough experience and had been around enough winners and like that really got far. Seeing Bill Belichick helps, but went to college, did some things in college, came back to the NFL. Like he had gone through so many different walks of life of a football coach and accumulated that experience that, yes, he was a first-time head coach last year, but it didn't seem like he was coming in as a rookie, not ready for what it was like. So, Kevin O'Connell's pretty young, but I think he also seemed pretty well prepared. So it looks like, tied to Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel tied to Kyle Shanahan. I guess Hackett was tied to Matt LaFleur, but maybe not every good head coach is good at teaching the next head coach. So it does seem like it's individual basis. I know for myself, the back end of the top 10 was kind of wide open. I hit a certain tier where it's like, okay, these people are all kind of automatically in this top 10 where I rank them and where I figured out afterwards. But like the back end, I thought it was wide open. There was a lot of candidates that could have filled those last few spots. And I wasn't afraid to take a couple of guys with only 1 year head coaching experience, to be honest.
I took a couple guys with one year experience too. You'll see on my list.
Right.
But obviously, back in the day, it seemed like everybody tried to pick the Bill Parcells tree of. I mean, it's not Bill Parcells, Bill Walsh tree of firing the next, of getting the next coach with a West Coast background, whether it be Mike Holmgren, Mike Shanahan, some of these guys.
Andy Reid was part of that too, really.
And now today, it seems like the two big coaching minds, are, especially on the offensive side, are Andy Reid and Sean McVay. Everybody wants either an Andy Reid disciple or a Sean McVay disciple. Why does seemingly every team looking for an offensive mind coach go to Sean McVay or Andy Reid?
I would think it's because people view that as not only are you excelling with those coaches, but you're learning so much from being in the room with Sean McVay, so much about football and like what Andy Reid could teach to all of his offensive coordinators, which is why most of them end up with head coaching jobs. Not sure why Bieniemy doesn't have one yet, but yeah, it seems like you're learning something every year in football, and it seems like Reid, especially because we've seen it for so long, he's such a track record of adjusting and constantly learning and adding things to the offense. So if he's constantly learning as well, you'd expect that so are his coordinators and everyone underneath the tree from him. So I'd imagine teams feel that, okay, this he was Andy Reid's offense coordinator. He's going to come with so much knowledge about the game. And then does it translate to being a head coach or not? And that might, like, you could have all the knowledge in the world, but it might not, depending on the coach, right? But I think that the knowledge base there, and it seems like anyone that was part of Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, all of them working under Mike Shanahan in Washington with Robert Griffin III. It seems like that year where they all kind of came together and they came up with a bunch of concepts, and everything has branched out since then. And anyone who's gotten a shot specifically with McVay, but also it seems like Shanahan recently. It's just say you were in an elevator with either one of them and you'll probably get a job in the NFL.
I mean, look at your coach in Green Bay. I mean, Matt LaFleur actually, you could say, was part of McVay. Actually knew McVay and Shanahan, if my memory serves me right.
He worked with Shanahan before they worked together with Sean McVay. He and Kyle Shanahan were both, before they even worked with Kyle's dad, they were both offensive assistants on the Houston Texans under Gary Kubiak. That's where they got their starts together. And then eventually Kyle was the offensive coordinator. I believe, like, you look at Matt Schaub's best years, a couple of those were with Shanahan as OC, and I'm pretty sure Matt LaFleur was the quarterback's coach. And that's where that relationship started there. And then when they worked together with Mike Shanahan in Washington, that's where they met Sean McVay and collaborated together. So yeah, like, Matt LaFleur has known those guys a lot of his life.
And then look at what happened with Kyle Shanahan with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan became an MVP.
Yeah, he's never hit that high. Like, and Matt Ryan has had other good seasons, but that was his best season, and he doesn't come all that close to it in any other year.
It also helped that Julio Jones was healthy and looked like Julio Jones.
Yeah, but even when Julio Jones and Roddy White were both in their prime, like, Matt Ryan had some good season, but never an MVP season, never getting to the Super Bowl. So it's Matt Ryan was always a really good quarterback, but Shanahan, for at least that period, made him a great quarterback.
Which legendary head coach could you listen to all afternoon? Because I'm trying to because I think there's one head coach, and I wonder if you're going to name him, who I could hear all afternoon, and he would not be boring one iota.
I'm going to reference John Madden talking about this. He went to a Vince Lombardi seminar, and Lombardi basically talked about, I imagine it was the Packers sweep. And he spent like the first hour and a half of that before the first break just talking about one play. And John Madden says he was just glued. Like, the amount of information you could gain about the game of football just based on that one play. I'm pretty sure it was the first example of a zone-based offensive blocking scheme. If not the first example, it was certainly the one that got the best results out of it. And so just so much gained about football and just talking about one play. And it seemed like that was just the first part of the seminar. Now it seemed like John Madden, who's one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, he would say Vince Lombardi. And as a Packers fan, I'm kind of highly inclined to agree and just take the homer pick and say Vince Lombardi.
I mean, listen, and look what happened to man in video games. You can ask man and basically say, he'll run this play or he would run this play. I've got one for you. How about Hank Stram? If you remember Super Bowl 4, thank goodness that he was Mike for that game, because I'm sure would have made everybody, I'm sure made the game viewing better, but we can all remember 65 toss power trap now, just like it did in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, for sure. And for a while that was the Chiefs' only NFL championship. So
and now they've got two in recent time.
You have a coach and a quarterback, right? It's great.
Hey, you had couple good coaches, couple good quarterbacks. You got a couple rings out of it. Might have gotten a few more, but
I'm not sure if they were mic'd up, but there was a couple of mics there, that's for sure.
Both with Super Bowl rings.
And not to forget Mike Sherman in between them, who doesn't have a ring, unfortunately for Packers fans. But yeah, and I guess also unfortunately for Seahawks fans and Montreal Alouettes fans.
And didn't Sherman coach Texas A&M too?
Yeah, you have me there. I'm not sure. I just remember the obscure Montreal Alouettes era.
Oh, Canada. Which rookie head coach are you excited to see this year?
I think it's D'Amico Ryans. Curious to see how he's going to turn around that Texans defense. And I mean, I thought the best quarterback in this class was CJ Stroud. So I'm also curious to see how he's going to work, even though he's not going to be in charge of the offense, but what kind of team environment and culture he's going to put around this young, should be stud quarterback. So I'm going to go with D'Amico Ryans, and the gamble to pick Will Anderson and give up next year's first to go get 2 top 3 picks this year. Will that pay off, and how will he manage that team? So I'm going to say him.
I think I'm going to pick you picked another rookie head coach or rookie quarterback. I'm going to pick Stain Steichen with the Colts because he did a great job turning Jalen Hurts into a $250 million quarterback. So I mean, yeah, Hurts and Richardson both have similar traits. Richardson's more of a running quarterback. Can he turn him into a potential dual threat quarterback? Now, one problem with the Colts is that they don't have near the offense of Philadelphia. I mean, there's no A.J. Brown, there's no Devontae Smith, there's no Dallas Goedert. I mean, I think we both say Michael Pittman would be the number 3 receiver in Philadelphia now, but do have John and
I agree.
And it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. Plus, being a Jack fan, I mean, in fact, we start with Anthony Richardson week 1 scares me because I have no idea what to expect, but it actually excites me because now I don't know what to expect.
It's going to be a tie week 1, isn't it? Just like last year.
Don't you dare say that. Don't you dare say that. It's going to be.
I mean, it turned out for you guys. You won the division, right? So I mean, I've noticed that, like in recent history, is the teams that tie, there's sometimes an advantage on that. I remember there was a tie early in the season between the Bengals and the Panthers, and I think they both ended up winning their division by half a game because of the tie. So tie is not always a bad thing. Now, especially for the Colts, they lost so many games, they would have loved to have more ties.
This isn't hockey back in the day when games went in ties.
That's true. Yeah, embrace the tie. The Philadelphia Flyers, I think they've got like a 35 game unbeaten streak, and there's like 12 ties in that stretch. So it's not a big win streak. But
which head coaches are under the most pressure to win this year? Because seemingly 5, 6, 7, 8 coaches always get fired after every year. Who is under the most pressure to win this year?
You know, with Kellen Moore breathing down his neck, you would have said Mike McCarthy as an easy choice. But now that Kellen Moore's gone and there's no like heir apparent, has he given himself breathing room? You know, they did win a playoff game last year, which was a step up from last year's. But now I wonder, like, I guess I think the previous year they had lost in the first round. So does McCarthy need to even better that? Like, does he need to reach the NFC Championship game in order to save his job? That's a ton of pressure potentially there. So maybe that's, again, the Packers bias blinding me. I'll go with the former Packers coach. I know before the show we were talking about one coach in particular that I'm sure you probably might think is under a lot of fire, and I to a certain extent I'll agree with you on it if that is in fact your answer.
I don't think Mike McCarthy's under any pressure because Jerry Jones loves having Mike McCarthy. He can be his puppet.
It took him so long to fire Jason Garrett. You know what? Yeah, Mike McCarthy's safe. I think if Kellen Moore was there, that would put the pressure. But now that they've moved on from Kellen Moore, it seems like that struggle is done. So yeah, that's probably not a good answer. I think your answer might that you're staying lean with might be better.
I've got two for you. One in each conference. You can guess who they are.
Well, I think Brandon Staley's for the Chargers.
And Brandon Staley's not one of them.
Oh, interesting. I think in the NFC, pressure means results, right? And I think, has this gone on long enough with the 49ers? Like, pick the quarterback and it better be right. Like, if Shanahan picks the wrong quarterback and it blows up in his face, is it
John Lynch is not firing Kyle Shanahan. No way. No way.
does Jed York just fire both though? Like, if they're so tied together and the QB experiment fails, let's say they force it with Trey Lance and he's awful, do they just clean house? Okay, okay, yeah. I guess I was wrong. That's not your answer.
I'll give you a hint. When a guy pays, what is it, $6 billion, he's going to want a medium result. And if the Washington Commanders or whatever name they are, they might have already changed their name 3 times by the time.
Just go back to Barons. That was their original franchise name, Washington Barons. There you go. You're right, Ron Rivera, though. Yeah, that is a good answer.
Or Washington Generals.
Or Washington whatevers.
Because Washington missed the playoffs last year. New owner. Lord knows what's going to happen there. I mean, Sam Howell may or may not be the quarterback there. He spent money on Jacoby Brissett. Terry McLaurin's wondering, can I get a decent quarterback to throw me the freaking ball once in a while? But I think if the Commanders don't have a big year this year, there will be a change of commander. There will be a change there because new owners are going to want their coaches. I mean, we've seen this everywhere, where new owners often make change. I mean, heck, the Phoenix Suns got rid of Monty Williams. So
yeah, I didn't understand that at all. Like, it seemed like he's a good coach. So yeah, you're right. You're right. And to a certain extent, it's almost the opposite of the Cowboys. Like, getting rid of Kellen Moore, maybe that's less pressure behind McCarthy with like an immediate replacement. Bringing in Eric Bieniemy, does that put tons of pressure on Rivera? He got him in house. The owners get to see him. Do they view him as this year's almost an early interview process for Bieniemy's head coaching job? Does that kind of give him almost a foot in the door that if they see enough in Bieniemy, it doesn't even matter how good the Commanders do with Rivera. Oh, you didn't win a Super Bowl, get rid of him. It's Bieniemy, right? So that's actually maybe the best answer. So yeah, I didn't think of that one. Good job, Dylan.
Well, using an old Rick Pitino quote, Patrick Mahomes is not coming through that door.
I don't think Sam Howell's Patrick Mahomes.
No, I don't think.
He's pretty good in his one start last year, but it is just one start.
I don't think he's Joe Theismann.
Yeah, no. In the East or in the AFC, who would it be in the AFC? Is it? I guess, yeah, you've brought in Aaron Rodgers to talk about big investments. Is it Robert Saleh? If they don't win games this year, if they don't compete for a division and make the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. Everybody's been fired in New York because Aaron Rodgers is not there to end up 7-10 and miss the playoffs. I mean, Robert Saleh
last year. Oh, wait, they were 8-9 and missed the playoffs. Or no, 9-8 and missed the playoffs. I can't remember.
So what, the Jets? So what? I don't know what to expect with this Jet team because everybody's saying the Jets are in the Super Bowl bubble. This is great. Aaron Rodgers is great. Well, when's the last time Aaron Rodgers won a meaningful playoff game against a quality of quarterback?
I mean, they did beat the Buccaneers last year early when teams were competing. Tom Brady wasn't quite himself last year, though, to be fair.
I mean, what happened in the first Minnesota game? They lost. What happened in the London game? They lost. What happened in Week 18 against Jared Goff?
They did beat Cousins late in the season, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that game was in Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers basically just didn't have to.
We're pointing out one game from last year, maybe 2, right? So to your point, now it's been, yeah.
I mean, they beat Miami after Tua was not cuckoo, but
yeah, that's true.
But again, I don't think the Jets are a Super Bowl contender, and no matter what happens this year, even the Jets win a playoff game, okay, but young defensive mind head coach, no offensive line, an aging legend. I mean, things could go bad, especially with a brutal start. I mean, you know everything about Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't know what to expect in New York this year, but I think Robert Saleh is under a tremendous amount of pressure.
If I had to guess, I think they make the division. Sorry, I think they make a wild card spot. I don't think they'll win the division, but if I had to guess, I would say playoffs for the Jets. But that's assuming Aaron Rodgers is much better than he was last year, returning to his MVP form. Is even somewhere close to that. Doesn't have to have a 9% touchdown rate again, but I think he's a good enough quarterback that I think they'll be in the mix. But if he ends up with stats like last year, and he only throws 25 touchdowns, that's probably not good enough to make the playoffs in this very heated, close division. So there's definitely room for letdown.
I've got a question. In terms of AFC quarterbacks, where would Aaron Rodgers be on the list? Is he better than Mahomes? Probably not. Better than Burrow?
No.
Josh Allen?
Nope.
Herbert?
Nope. I would take Herbert as well.
Lamar?
No. Definitely taking Lamar.
Trevor?
Right now, in a one-game basis, I'd probably take Rodgers over Lawrence. But if you're telling me like which quarterback do I have to choose for my team, I'm going to definitely take the younger guy. I do expect Lawrence to, he took a big step up from year 1 to 2. Can we take it as good a step up from year 2 to 3? Then he's probably going to be better than Rodgers this year. But if he kind of remains what he was last year, I could see Rodgers throwing more touchdowns, having the better season, maybe getting more wins. Lawrence is probably more likely to make the playoffs though and win the division just because of the AFC South. So
yeah, and also
that's close. So I think anyone below that, I'd probably take Rodgers for sure, and everyone above that, it's probably.
Jack's also added Calvin Ridley too. So if Calvin Ridley's back to where he was in Atlanta, then maybe
that's what helps Lawrence take that next step. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, if you want another coach on the hot seat about Kevin Stefanski, because the Browns seemingly fired coaches. Second year, so first full year with Deshaun Watson back. I'm not sure what to count last year because Deshaun Watson didn't look like himself, didn't look agile, didn't look engaged. It seemed like the Browns actually played better with Jacoby Brissett than with Deshaun for parts of that time.
They had developed chemistry and then it suddenly broke it up and had to like relearn that chemistry aspect with Watson. So I expect it'll be better than what we saw at the end of last year. But you also have to think before that, the last time we saw Deshaun Watson for a full season, they won 4 games that year with the Houston Texans. Now that was without DeAndre Hopkins. That wide receiver room was actually brutal. And, they've had, hockey enough. Like they basically had the equivalent of Mike Milbury at GM in terms of Bill O'Brien. Now, I'll give Bill O'Brien his props. Very, I would say, excellent offensive coordinator. So as a head coach, but yeah, should never have been a GM. Mike Milbury, on the other hand, was just awful at anything he's done in hockey and also shouldn't have been a GM. But the team was so ruined. He's got a great receiving core between Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore, just having like those two solid weapons.
DPJ.
Yeah, Donald Peoples-Jones, great. I mean, the tight end room's nice between Njoku and Harrison Bryant, and he gets Jordan Akins, who he worked with in Houston, and then, of course, the run game behind Nick Chubb and that great offensive line. So I think the pieces are set. That's another team where if I had to guess right now, I would say Brandon Staley's getting fired and the Chargers are missing the playoffs. And that last wild card spot, assuming that the North gets 2 between the Ravens and Bengals, the East gets 2 between the Jets and Bills, I think the North might actually get 3 and the Browns sneak in for that third wildcard spot. And the Chargers have a letdown season and then maybe let go of Brandon Staley after this.
And don't forget Denver in the West because the guy I'm sure we're going to mention. And then
Miami would be the other one I think people might be
Pittsburgh even.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. I don't have much faith in Jordan Love. I probably have less faith in Kenny Pickett. So
let's just say this: in terms of making the playoffs, I'd rather be in the NFC.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely much better chance. I think Jordan Love makes the playoffs than Kenny Pickett. Yeah, there's a much bigger mountain to climb there. But I do like your point about Kevin Stefanski and the pressure, because they've invested big in a quarterback. With those big investments, we expect results, right? So Robert Saleh, Kevin Stefanski, yeah, both. I think the expectations, I think, for both those teams are playoffs, potentially playoffs or bust. So if either team misses the playoffs, that might be it for that head coach.
And Jimmy Haslam doesn't take time to coaches.
No, the Browns are unfortunately one of the more poorly run franchises, and they've been impatient with coaches. Sometimes that's been warranted because they've made like just bad decisions in the first place. Freddie Kitchens. So yeah, the Browns. I do think Kevin Stefanski is a really good head coach, and I think it would be a mistake to fire him, because I don't know who would be available for them to get better. I think that's always got to be the question, because I think he's pretty good, but I guess we'll have to see what the results show this year.
All right, so Kyle, we did top 10 quarterbacks last year. Let's give our top 10 coaches we want right now, starting at 10, going to 1.
Well, at number 10, I've got Mike Vrabel from the Tennessee Titans. 5.85 win percentage throughout his career. And he's been able to kind of get the most out of that team, very much creating a culture and an identity. And through the run game, especially behind Derrick Henry, they've created an offense and then had the defense to complement that run game offense. So he's created kind of a whole identity on this team that like everyone sticks to, and they perform really well. That year up against this, Lamar Jackson MVP run game, and they went and they just smacked them in the mouth in a playoff game, and they were pretty unstoppable in that contest. Came back, and that was after ending Tom Brady's career with the Patriots. In his last throw with the Patriots was a pick 6 to the Titans to seal that game off, and then they have a halftime lead against the Chiefs. Like that was such a great magical run, and it seems like through that run they were so very well coached by the head guy in Mike Vrabel. It seems like he gets his team to buy in. They're not going to quit early. We talked about the examples earlier of coaches willing to go for 2 instead of kick an extra point to tie a game. There was a game in London, maybe one of the classic London finishes, I believe against the Chargers, and the Titans did exactly that. They had a potential game-tying drive, go down, got the 6 points to get within 1, and instead of kicking the point after and going to overtime and giving those London fans their extra money, they made the wild decision to go for 2. Converted it, and there was still some time left, but the defense stopped the Chargers from advancing into field goal range, and they won the game. So the confidence in the team's ability, I'm a head coach, I'm making a decision, I'm confident in you. Like that's felt by the team, it seems like, in a lot of those circumstances. It doesn't always work, but it seems like those decisions are well respected by the players, because the players will always blame themselves for not converting. The coach put us out there to expect that, and it gives us confidence and belief in ourselves. And that doesn't always, just because you believe in yourself doesn't always mean you'll get results, especially when you're playing the NFL when that other team believes in their ability. But it does seem like Vrabel does get that team to elevate to the moments. Last year was pretty awful once they lost their starting quarterback, though. I think you take any coach of this top 10, you take away their starting quarterback and give them Malik Willis and Josh Dobbs, they're probably not going to win very many games. So I thought Mike Vrabel certainly deserved to be in this top 10 list, and I put him just at the bottom at 10. I think this bottom 3, especially for me, could have gone really ordered in any way, but I decided to put Vrabel here.
Number 10 for me, I've got Matt LaFleur. While everybody will say, well, Matt LaFleur has won this. I think he's done a lot with the Packers. He's won how many division titles? 3 with the
3 in his 4 years, I believe. Yes,
not bad. And also, I think he got some of the best Aaron Rodgers we've seen in several years. I mean, Aaron Jones, and then Christian Watson. I mean, he developed a lot of great young Packer players, and especially on the offense side. And I feel like he's underappreciative. Everybody's saying, well, you didn't win the big one. some of his coaching decisions might not have been there, but we also saw where Aaron Rodgers didn't exactly play up to his best in big games.
And again, looking at coaching winning percentages, his current win percentage in the regular season is .712. It's the second highest among any coaches right now. For reference sake, Bill Belichick is at .662. So you say you got a better win percentage than Bill Belichick, that has to mean something. Unfortunately, it's not enough for him to be in my top 10. I have him, basically, he's the last guy out that didn't make the top 10. I'd probably rank him 11th. But yeah, certainly happy that they moved on from McCarthy to what I view as an upgrade at head coach.
Okay, number 9.
Well, number 9, number 8 for me, we talked about this earlier, young coaches. And I had full confidence, including a couple of really young coaches here, and talk about Matt LaFleur's win percentage. Kevin O'Connell, after one season, and it's a short sample size, .767. Currently the highest among any active head coach. And the things I was saying about Vrabel, I felt like the ability to have your team buy in and not give up on any play or any game, and you just constantly put the work in, and the belief in oneself, it really showed itself in 2 major ways last year for the Vikings. We had an incredible Super Bowl. So I think anyone would say the game of the year last year is probably the Super Bowl. But if you had to pick any other game, you might say it's the Bills-Vikings regular season overtime thriller. I mean, that game looked like the Bills had it done. And, they and maybe you argue they fumbled it more than the Vikings earned it, but they went and they got the tie. They won it in overtime. Like, kudos to the Vikings for not giving up. It manifests itself in a more meaningful sort of the score-wise way when the Vikings broke the record for largest comeback in NFL history against Jeff Saturday, to be fair. It was probably a pretty poor head coach team for the Colts that maybe they almost got too ahead of themselves in that game and showed the opposite effect of when you don't have a ready and capable head coach. Because, I mean, O'Connell and Saturday are both rookie head coaches, but it really didn't work well with Saturday. Certainly did seem to work really well with O'Connell. And like we said earlier, he's young, but it seemed like he was prepared for this job. And ultimately, they didn't win a playoff game as much as they had a great season, won the division, couldn't get done in the first round of the playoffs. But I liked enough of what I saw from O'Connell to think this is a great coaching candidate to build off of. So I was willing to put him at number 9.
He actually, KOC just missed my list because the guy who beat him in said playoff games, number 9 on my list, Brian Dable. I mean, how he got turned Daniel Jones into a $100+ million quarterback is a miracle, but it seemed like Brian Dable brought a stability, a confidence, a swagger, and brought a no-nonsense attitude. And think back to that Week 1 game, but the Giants went for 2. I'm like, that's something I don't think the previous coaches would have done, but he went for it. And remember the London game with the Giants? We really didn't have a prayer in that game. They won that, and I'm like, wow. And true, I mean, the Giants overmatched against Jalen Hurts, but turn Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley look like the not rookie Saquon Barkley, but when compatible. And then what he did with Isaiah Hodgins, who's a talking dynasty best ball redraft. So I think Brian Dable deserves a spot on my list.
I mean, who didn't look overmatched against Jalen Hurts last year? Let's be honest. The Chiefs, right? That it literally took that team, Super Bowl champions, to not look overmatched against Jalen Hurts. I won't dwell too much further on it. The one reason I went Dable ahead of O'Connell and put Brian Dable at 8 is, again, that head-to-head playoff win. Like, because they've had such only one regular season, I think it also puts more weight on that one playoff game that they played head-to-head. And I think going into that game, I mean, the Vikings were the home seed. They were the higher seed. You look at those rosters top to bottom, I mean, maybe some elements of the defense, you'd say the Giants are better in this area than the Vikings, but almost across the board, you'd say the Vikings were the better team than the Giants. And yet Dable was able to out-coach Kevin O'Connell to a certain extent. So coach his way up to number 8 for me.
I've got Mike Vrabel, number 8 on my list. I mean, despite being in the division with my team, I think what he has done with limited weapons is incredible. I mean, how the Titans are the number 1 seed a couple years ago is beyond me, but doing it with Ryan Tanner, of course, Derrick Henry doesn't hurt, but it seems like it seems like Bill Belichick assistant coaches don't do well in the NFL. Well, Mike Vrabel was the one Belichick assistant who's done well in the NFL.
Maybe you need a Belichick player. That's what he started with, right? Like, and it seemed like he was able to translate and learn so much as a player. So that way, when he started to become a coordinator, he already knew so much about football before he even stepped foot in a coaching room that was like prepared him for that. So again, just seems super prepared for the job. Yeah, I think again, I could have gone really any order with O'Connell, Dable, and Vrabel, and even like Matt LaFleur, I would have had him at 11. Like I think all four of those really close together, and this is where the list really gets interesting to me in terms of I thought it was a clear tier break. So we might have the same top 7 potentially. Just we'll see what the order's like.
I'll give you my 7th coach right now, and it's Zach Taylor. Part of the Sean McVay tree, but it helps to have Joe Burrow, but Zach Taylor's done a really good job. Find me a coach and a team who have given Andy Reid and the Chiefs as much trouble. How he won that playoff game in Buffalo without 3 starting linemen is beyond me, but Zach Taylor does not get the credit he deserves. The Bengals could have fired him after when Burrow tore his ACL, and then all of a sudden they're in the Super Bowl and giving the Rams all they want in LA, and then another AFC Championship game this past year. Zach Taylor feels like the most unappreciative coach in the league, and he is lucky number 7 for me.
It's almost the same argument with Matt LaFleur, right? Oh, but it's just because he had Aaron Rodgers. Oh, it's just because he has Joe Burrow, right?
Is Bill Walsh a great coach or a great coach because he had Joe Montana?
Yeah, will always be doubted, right? So I guess we don't have the same top 7 because I did not. I have Sean Payton actually at number 7, returning.
Ooh.
Yeah, and this is obviously historical. We have no idea what he's going to do with Denver, so I didn't feel like I could put him any higher than this. But one thing I mentioned earlier, right, the ability to win the Super Bowl, that's something that kind of the rest of my list all has in common in terms of is winning that big game and winning the Super Bowl. And you talk about the aggressive decision to kick that onside kick to start the second half instead of just a traditional kickoff and giving them that extra possession, especially going up against a quarterback like Peyton Manning, knowing that you need every possession you can to have the ability to score as many points as you can. Such a great play caller and maybe one of the best play designers we've ever seen in NFL history. It seems like his scheme will always leave a receiver open. You need that smart, accurate, quick throwing quarterback that can read and react incredibly well. And that will be, they will be able to excel in that offense because his route combinations seem incredible to get, mismatches. He talked about the Joker role, which has often been a running back, and how he's utilized the running back really as the 21st century back, how much they've been used as pass catchers. And, we saw Jimmy Graham and like the innovations of these like super athletic tight ends and how he's best utilized that. So adaptive game plans as well, but it seems like such a great play caller. And we'll find out if he can fix the Broncos. The Walmart family paid big bucks for Russell Wilson. Now they've paid big bucks and draft picks to get Sean Payton to fix Russell Wilson. So we'll find out if he can.
Yeah, number 6. Talk about rookie head coaches, but I'm not sure any rookie did quite like what Mike McDaniel did with Tua, because when Tua was healthy last year, the Dolphins could put up points on anybody. It helps to have an offensive-minded head coach, right? Mike McDaniel from the Kyle Senra tree gave Buffalo trouble 3 times last year. And if Tua or if any other competent quarterback would have been there for Miami, they go in the Orchard Park and win that game.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if it's true, but it may be. I think it's definitely a possibility. Pete Carroll is my number 6. For years, let Russ cook, right? Why doesn't this team throw more? If nothing else, Pete Carroll's ability to manage Russell Wilson after what he showed last year without Pete Carroll makes us wonder, man, was he the super genius all along? Were we overrating and overestimating Russell Wilson this whole time? And yet Pete Carroll still won a Super Bowl and almost won a second one with Russell Wilson. you talk about like a team that people were writing off. Like I remember takes last year from some people I respect too that were, it's a 31 team league. The Seahawks are basically so bad they don't even exist with the rest of the NFL teams on this plane. They're awful. They're going to tank for CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, whoever you liked at that time. And like the easy like 101, like it'll be, they might go 0-17. And they went in the playoffs. And they got such a great season, probably the best we've ever seen out of Geno Smith. And I mean, he's not the offensive play caller. He's the culture builder. He is just the head coach making head coaching decisions. And it just seems like that team, a lot of young pieces coming together really quickly as a combination, not just of him, but all the coaches on his staff working together. And it seems like the unity is great. Now, the one thing I'll say when it comes to winning percentage, of the coaches in my top 7, he's the only one whose career record is under 60%. 0.584. Essentially the same win percentage as Mike Vrabel. So not that different from Vrabel, but he's got that Super Bowl win earlier in his career. So I'll give it to Pete Carroll at number 6.
And number 5 on my list, I don't know if I'm biased or anything, but from going from maybe the most incompetent coach in NFL history to a competent head coach and turn Trevor Lawrence into what we know Trevor Lawrence can be, Doug Peterson, number 5. How about a coach who actually beat Bill Belichick in a Super Bowl, and it's not Tom Coughlin?
And Brady set like the Super Bowl passing yards record in that game. Like that was an incredible Tom Brady performance that they had to go up against. One of the best in his career, and he didn't even win it in that game. So.
I mean, he got Nick Foles to a Super Bowl.
Great timely play calling. Obviously, the Philly special. What a special play call! To just put a massive exclamation mark on it. But the confidence to not only call that play, but to do it on 4th down as well, and just like everything riding, they could have easily kicked a field goal. It totally made the difference. So yeah, I think Peterson definitely deserves credit.
Who is number 5 on your list?
So I've got John Harbaugh, and I think. Shout out to the special teams coordinators making it head coach. There's so few and far between that I think we got to just shine the light on that way. But he's got the Super Bowl win with Joe Flacco. Like he's like, talk about getting the best out of someone. Again, he's not the offensive mind designing that play calling, but it also seems like he's given his offensive coordinators full authority to just do whatever's necessary. The changeover from Flacco to Lamar Jackson happened in season, and then they completely changed their playbook. It didn't seem like it was too much of a burden. Okay, we'll teach in the offense these new plays, and then we're opening this section of the playbook, and this is where we're going to focus on. And it seems like he's got a good pulse on what his team needs to succeed, and they've just had so much success over his career. He also has, I looked this up for some records, right? And this is miscellaneous. Not every coach has these records behind them, but I thought it was cool to like look out, especially for these top guys. He's got the record for the most road playoff wins in NFL history.
Not a surprise with that franchise.
And, when you're on the road, the other team is favored. At home, there's maybe at least equally as good a roster, and to come out victorious in those situations so often, I think deserves tons of credit for how well he prepares his team on a week-to-week and season-to-season basis. So top 5 coach for me, John Harbaugh.
Number 4, maybe the best coach without a Super Bowl ring right now, Kyle Shanahan, because, I mean, maybe he's been a little unlucky with quarterbacks. I mean, if the Niners would have gone into the NFC Championship with about 15 quarterbacks, it might have been okay, but we know what kind of play call he is. We know what he's done with offenses. You don't need a great talent quarterback. I mean, Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo both got the Super Bowls under Shanahan. And you imagine what he could do with one of these top guys, Burrow and Allen, Mahomes, Herbert.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, who knows, maybe Brock Purdy's that guy. Well, maybe we'll find out this year the answer to that question. Yeah, but Shanahan, certainly one of the elite play callers. We're going to get to those in a sec for me, the elite play callers. But at number 4, I've got Mike Tomlin, another record holder the record for most seasons without a losing season. And his win percentage through his career, .636. That's just behind Reed and Belichick in terms of like their excellence and what they've done. And I think they're the models of consistency. And I think Tomlin deserves to be like right there, top 5 pick for me easily. And just, how many – I don't think Kenny Pickett's very good at all. The fact that they won games to the point where they almost made the playoffs last year and got to that above 500 record is outstanding. They just gets the most out of his team, really coaches up the defense well. He's got the Super Bowl ring with the Buccaneers as a DB's coach. Coached some Hall of Famers to, he's probably not the reason they were Hall of Fame careers, John Lynch and Rondé Barber, but certainly I think impacted in the biggest moment, the most important moment of their careers. And was able to take over a Steelers team with some excellent defensive players, work a scheme around it, and they won another Super Bowl. Went to another one as well. So I have Mike Tomlin at number 4.
Number 3, you mentioned him earlier, but Sean Payton, number 3. I think anybody would be better than Nathaniel Hackett last year, but I'm excited to see what Sean Payton does for us. I mean, he worked with Drew Brees so well. So, I mean, Russell Wilson feels like a younger Drew Brees.
I'd say almost anyone would be better than Nathaniel Hackett. I think, you knew Hackett on the Jaguars. I think, another recent Jaguars head coach that I think we all would say is worse than Nathaniel Hackett. But outside of that one example, you're right.
He will not be number 1 on this list. I can tell you who that is.
Well, he's number last. But yes, that's so I guess my number 3 now.
Yeah.
So I've got Sean McVay. Just such an excellent play caller. Similar to Sean Payton, right? Seems like there's always an open receiver. Like he'll always be able to scheme, find ways to work the defense. Such an attention to detail as well, especially at the receiver position. It seems like he coaches up his players incredibly well. You see the attention to detail in stuff like the hurry up offense, or after a big play late when you want to spike the football, how quickly that team gets lined up and snaps the football. This is like coaching details to like the highest degree.
Maybe that would have helped in Dallas a couple years ago.
Yeah, well, yeah. The opposite. We've seen the opposite in Dallas, right? Like, okay, let's get Dak Prescott. Or let's one offensive lineman and it's a running back. But you'll see some crazy stuff in a Sean McVay offense, but it'll always be functional crazy. It catches the defense off guard. It seems like he's got a really good grasp on that. Just how much success he's had at such a young age, I think, is incredibly impressive. So top 3 coach for me right now.
Sean McVay number 2 for me as they said, he's too young to coach. He's just fine. I mean, what he did with Jared Goff and now what he's done with Stafford, a couple Super Bowls, won one. He has revolutionized football and made football so different. I mean, Cooper Kupp would not have existed 15 years ago, and now he's a stud.
Super Bowl MVP, the best receiver in the league. It's crazy. And like how many other receivers have come in and done really well. Like he's gotten the most out of Van Jefferson that he could possibly have. And who knows, Van Jefferson might have a great season this year too, because there's no one else there. But at number 2, I've got Andy Reid. And just the career resume is incredibly impressive, but certainly the stretch with the Chiefs, the fact that he's gotten 2 teams to 5 straight championship games, 5 NFC championship games with the Eagles, and now 5 straight AFC championship games with the Chiefs, both are incredibly impressive. Yes, he's got the best quarterback and probably the best player in football right now. But, I mean, someone who has a fan of my team had Aaron Rodgers for all those years. It was arguably the best player. They don't automatically win the Super Bowl every year because of it. And the one knock against Andy Reid, I think, is clock management. Mahomes has almost made that irrelevant. And I think part of that is just Mahomes is so good at clock management, knowing like he'll call timeouts himself. And he's got a really good grasp on that so much that like he almost takes out of Andy Reid's hands to a certain extent. I think he has gotten better. And like I mentioned, Reid has learned to be better at game management. I think those issues that especially plagued him in Philly, I think, are less present with the Chiefs. And even like through his tenure with the Chiefs, I think he's improved there. There's just his ability to his ability to include the merry-go-round as part of a huddle setup for a team that just later throws a touchdown pass on that same play. It's the Raiders defense, let's be fair. Josh McDaniels again, the slander. But he's not afraid to get creative because he also understands what works and what can function and doesn't. It seems like more than anything, he listens to his players a lot too. He gets insight of like in-game what's happening, basing his play calling around what the players are seeing on offense, the feedback they're giving on what the defense is facing. It seems like his play calling adjustments through a game or just play calling decisions are unparalleled, probably the best play caller. I would argue Sean McVay and Sean Payton might be better play designers, but it seems like Reid is just always dialing up the right play at the right moment.
So based on your list, I already know who number one is, and he's in New England, right?
Of course.
Yeah. And based on my list, you know who number one is because I've got 9 offensive mind coaches.
Well, that's the thing. It means that you either don't have Andy Reid in your top 10 or don't have Bill Belichick in your top 10. Right now, I'm guessing all the shenanigans that have gone on in New England in the last couple of years, you've completely lost faith and said, I'm going with Andy Reid as the best coach in the NFL.
100%. Because Andy Reid feels like the best coach in football right now, and I'm not sure it's close. Because what he has done with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce is remarkable. They traded Tyreek Hill, and Patrick Mahomes led the league in passing. How do you trade one of the fastest wide receivers in NFL history and then all of a sudden become even better offensively? I mean, yes.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Oh wait, he barely did anything last
year. I don't remember MVS playing the Super Bowl. I mean, Mahomes was throwing the Kelce.
You see, he's had 2 of the best games of his career have been in Championship Sunday. The Packers lost to the Buccaneers in the 2020 NFC Championship game. He was phenomenal. He was one of the best players for the Packers that game. And then he did it again in the AFC Championship game against the Bengals, and then was irrelevant for the rest of the season, essentially.
He should just suit up on Championship Sunday.
Yeah, so if you're next year, if the Chiefs make it to the AFC Championship game and you're like in DFS contests or like playoff pick'em contests, pick MVS, but for Championship Sunday. Don't play him any other week; you'll be useless.
I won't be putting my million in my DK Millionaire Week 1 then.
Yeah, no, probably.
All right, Kyle. Thanks for hopping on. I think we need to do more top 10s because things always get spicy between us.
Well, we did the quarterbacks last year, as you referenced. Is that something you want to do again before this season? Are we going to make that a tradition?
We should do that.
All right. So yeah, I don't know if you want that later in August or even later here in July, but yeah, I'm definitely willing to come back, rank the top 10 quarterbacks. It'd be interesting to compare it to last year's list too, and how much different. Certainly some big omissions I can imagine in my list. Have to retire some names, of course. But yeah, this was super fun, Dylan. I had fun just going through and researching and having to rank all these coaches. And I was a little surprised how different our lists ended up being, especially at the top. But that's what makes these discussions so much fun. And anyone who wants to continue these discussions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Senra Says. I co-host the Full Press Fantasy and Full Press Packers pod for Full Press coverage. I'll also write articles for them in season rankings. I've got my goal line guide articles where I'm using on a weekly basis, trying to predict where touchdowns are going to come from, which games, which teams, running, passing, based on their opponents. A bunch of research I do in season to kind of help with that. And yes, I do it for fantasy football, but it can have real life applications since touchdowns matter so much in real life NFL games too. So definitely check all that out at Full Press Coverage. And then with Going for Two, I've got 2 live streams. One is called Press Coverage. The other one's called The Dynasty Gambit. Press Coverage is more of a one-on-one interview with people, usually people in the fantasy football industry. I know, Dylan, you were on that actually a couple of years ago, season 1 of Press Coverage. You were a guest there. So that was super appreciative that you were able to make it for that. The other show, Dynasty Gambit's a lot about dynasty fantasy football, which is a format I absolutely love. So I encourage everyone to check all of that out. And thank you so much for the opportunity, Dylan.